Welcome. My name is George Pearson and I run the How To Gurus channel here on YouTube. Most of the videos in my channel are short demonstrations of the different tools and techniques you'll find in various software programs. Right now I have several hundred of these quick videos available on YouTube. This video though is different. This is part of a new series of longer demonstrations that I'm doing to show you how to complete complex projects from start to finish using a variety of techniques and tools. All of the images I use in these projects are in the public domain, and I've included a link to the pictures in the video description in case you want to work along using the same images. Okay, let's move on to the project. In this Adobe Photoshop wedding photography project, we'll be looking at fixing a problem background. Now, whenever you take pictures, there's a good chance you're going to be having some different problems with a particular picture that may need to have some fixes or adjustments. And there are different things that you can do. In different videos, we've looked at improving the overall quality of this image. We've also looked at doing a soft focus background, which really improves the image a lot. That's a real nice technique. But let's solve the biggest problem on this picture right now. The biggest problem is that big white thing in the background back there. It's really burned out. I don't even really know what that is. There are actually two things that are problems in here. That thing, and then right down here, if we zoom in a little bit, you can see there's some paper or something just sitting on the ground down there. So, two things that we need to fix. Let's look at that background and see what that is. Almost looks like there were some sprinklers going on back here, or a fountain back here or something, and it was being hit by the backlight. You can see the whole picture is backlit by the sun, and it was being burned out because of that. And what we get is we can no longer see the edge of her veil back here. The whole background becomes very, very distracting. That's the brightest thing in the whole picture, actually. Very distracting. So we're going to be covering this and getting rid of this by taking some of our wall over here and a little bit over here and actually filling in this archway with the wall. We'll leave some of the area down here alone, but we just want to fill it in, that archway in, and just get rid of that completely as if we bricked in the wall. That will hide it, and it will look real nice because it'll blend into the rest of this background. You won't even look at it any longer. You'll be looking at the couple in front, which is the main focus of the picture. Now, to do this, we'll need to do a careful selection around our image to decide where we want to have that wall done. We'll do that in just a minute. Notice there's also a little bit right in here. You want to make sure you catch that as well. And that edge, the little lit edge, you don't want to have that lit edge showing either. So we'll do that selection in just a minute. First though, let's not get carried away here too quickly. Let's just solve this thing right now, right down here. This one is just a standard clone stamp tool technique. We have our background layer. I'm just going to make a copy of that layer. There we go. Hide the background. That gives me a protection layer. In case I mess up on this, I can always go back to my protection layer. Alright, let's grab our clone stamp tool. That is way too large there. Let's just bring that size way down. That's better. Now, no one's going to be looking down here, which makes this a bit easier on the clone stamping. But be aware we do have these different brick lines, so you want to be careful about doing that. I think if I copy this brick line and put it on top of that brick line, then we should be able to blend that out pretty well. So hit the Alt key, hold that down. I'm going to click right in the middle of that line right there. That gives me my set position. You can see there's the lines. I want to put the new lines, kind of line them up with the lines that are already on the ground there. Just kind of visually match that up as close as possible. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, this little bit I'll try grabbing from this side this time. I'll click right there and see if we can just move that line down a bit. That's not going to work actually. To grab from over here again. So I'll come right to this point. I'll click right there. Let's pull this down just a touch. And so we can paint that out. Give a little bit of this brick in here and touch that brick up a bit. Looks pretty good. And I don't like those lines too much. I'm going to grab something that's a little softer right there, and let's try to just come in and soften that a bit. Okay, not perfect. But I think it will do the job, which is the important bit. Maybe just add a little line. Little brick line right there. It's real tricky when you're doing this kind of fix on an image like this where you have lines. You have to be careful to try to match all of your lines up in the perspective. There are ways of doing this a little more carefully using different tools, which I've covered in other training topics. I'm not going to bother with that here, using perspective tools and so forth. For this fix, I think that's going to be good enough. I don't think anybody's even going to look at that. See, once we back out, you'd never look down there. So that's good enough. Let's now go to the tricky part, and that's this big background hole where we want to get rid of that background hole right there. All right, we're going to make a selection on this. I'm going to be using the polygonal lasso tool, and I'll start right here, and I want to come just a little ways inside the wall. I don't want to have any of that white on that edge, so I want to be just a little bit inside. And where that tree is, that's not really going to matter because it's just the edge of the tree, so that's going to blend in nicely. The nice thing about doing backgrounds in background fixes is unless it's really, really obvious, most people really don't pay that much attention to a background. So you have a little more latitude in there. There's a problem with the hair up here. So I'll leave that alone just for a minute. We'll come back and fix that hair. And then I'm going to try to do a good job on the veil. It's a little hard down here because I really can't see where the veil is. I'm kind of eyeballing to the bottom section and putting a little bit of a curve on this. You want to be just inside the veil on that. I'll come down a bit. Now, it's a little tricky right here how you want to handle this part. I want to cut this across right there, put a base on the wall right here, and then darken down that area in behind, or do I want to pull a wall down? I think I'll pull it straight across, and I'll come just outside of this bush, and we'll see if we can maybe improve that a little bit. Okay, there's that bit. And I want to add this little bit in. So just make sure you're on the Add button up there, Add to Selection. And I'll need to zoom in on this. This is a little bit tricky here. So I want to get the edge of her face carefully done. So there's the edge of the wall. That's the highlight I want to get rid of. So I'll come right to the edge of her face here. Let's just do the wall part first. And that will leave us with her chin and her cheek as the last things to do. And when you're using the polygonal lasso tool, make sure that you take your time between each one of your clicks. If you click too fast, it's going to try to close out the selection, and it's not going to be what you want. So take your time to do those clicks correctly. There's a little bit of something there. I'm not going to worry about that. It's a little bit of cleanup here. I'll keep that one though, just for the heck of it. Now on the edge here of her face, you see it has kind of a softness on that edge. It can be out into the middle of that soft area. Like a little short gradation. It'll be in the middle of that. Be about the right place to be. And then just finish it off there. There's that selection. Okay, so we now have that area selected. Now we have that, we can use our clone stamp tool and come in here and actually clone stamp this. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different here, just a little trick. Now when you clone stamp, you can clone stamp onto the same layer or onto a different layer. We'll be doing it onto a different layer. You have to keep in mind what you're doing, so you go back and forth between layers, but it allows you to put your clone stamping into a new layer so you can then have a little more freedom on your adjustment. The problem here, of course, at this point is that we have this kind of rough edge around the plant and on her hair. We need to fix those two problem areas. We can do that by modifying our selection. Select, modify. Let's refine edge, actually, there we go. On the refine edge, you have different looks in here. You have the look on black. We have on white. We have the marching ant effect right there. We have the overlay. There's different ways of looking at this. I'll use the overlay. You can do the smart radius, but I've never really had a whole lot of luck with the smart radius. I'll go ahead and I'll do this by hand. And you can check your brush size up there. And you can, let me just zoom in a little bit here. There's our zoom tool. Zoom in on the edge of the hair. And come back down. You want to do the edge select. Now, we want to be adding into our mask, so you want to put that plus sign in the place you want to add to the mask, and then overlap that circle on the areas you want to remove from the mask. I'm just going to click in here, and you can see how Photoshop goes in and defines that edge for us. Now it's not perfect. There's a little bit of rough stuff on there. We'll fix that in just a minute. And I'll scroll up. It does a pretty good job of finding that edge. And it didn't do very well right there, unfortunately. We'll come back and we'll fix that. Let's try this plant down here, see what we can do with this plant. And see how it handles that. We're going to increase the contrast as well, and that's going to help a bit on this edge for us. Sometimes you'll find areas that just don't work. This trick just doesn't work at all. So all you can do is just try it and see what you get. Okay, can't do much down that area, down there. Once you have that basic setup, we can then come in here and we can increase the contrast, and that usually will bring the mask in a bit further. It's doing a pretty good job up here. Let's go back and check at the top of the image up here. I'll just scroll up and over, check on that hair. It's a little rough on that, but I think it's going to be okay. Let's bring contrast down just a bit. Try a little edge shift on that. Alright, now we have that. Let's just clean the edges up a little bit on this mask. I'll come down here and look at it on black. And I can really see that. And then we can come in and actually adjust this by painting into our mask if you want to. So we have our different tools. Now we have that basic setup. Looks pretty good. I think we're okay. Let's come down here and choose what you want to do with that. You can output it to a selection. That just makes it into a selection. Do a layer mask, or you can do a new layer with layer mask, and that's the one I want to do here. New layer with layer mask. Choose OK. There's that new layer. So there's the original. There's our new layer on top. So we'll be able to do our rock wall adjustment into this layer using that layer mask. It'll give us a little bit of freedom on that. There's a little bit of problem right up here. You see a little bit of the edge right there. We can adjust that bit on this layer mask. Because we have a layer mask, if I click on the layer mask itself, if we paint into this with black, it's going to hide more. If painted it with white, it's going to show more. So I'm going to paint this little bit right here with white. Let's just make our color white. paintbrush, and I had a very large size there for my previous discussion. Okay, paint in white, and I can fill in a little bit of that edge, and where I had some softness in there, I can go ahead and fill that in as well. Let's check down by that plant now. A little bit of softness in there. I think we can come in and paint a little bit in there. We'll clean this up a little bit afterwards. Looks pretty good. Let's just scroll over here to the right hand side. That looks okay. And zoom out. Now if I show the stuff in behind here, here's our new layer, and then here's the background layer. So if I stay on this layer here and stay on this side, on the image side, I can then paste into here, my clone stamp into here. It will clone stamp inside of that mask area, giving a nice real clean look. I can demonstrate that pretty quickly here. Let's just grab the clone stamp tool, and then I'll use a soft edge on this. Let's bring our size up a bit. That's a pretty good size. I'll grab a little bit out here, hold the Alt key down, click out there, and then come in here. And you can see, as I'm doing this, we're only seeing it go into the area inside of the layer mask, so that allows me to have that nice edge. We can clean that edge up in just a little bit. The trick now is to paint in some stuff in the middle here that looks nice. So I can grab from out here. Just grab that, and then I'll just come into a little bit in here. Do as much as I can, just kind of fill the whole thing in. When we begin to have a problem again, then we'll come back and grab some more. Grab right there. Let's just get that little bit in there. There we are. And that didn't work at all, so I'll grab again over here. A little bit of a rock up there. It's going to be a matter of coming in and doing this a few times, because there's not that much to work with over there. We'll have to just grab multiple times on this to fill this in. Luckily it's a rock pattern, which makes it fairly innocuous, allowing us to grab it several times. And just kind of back and forth, fill things in. And we'll hide any duplication in here once we have the basic rock stuff pasted in. And we're just about there, our first pass on this. And now we're getting into the area around that plant, and that's looking pretty good. A bit there, and a little bit up in there. Okay, now I can come in and I can grab some stuff from here and kind of move it around to try to soften up any little bad edges that are showing. Okay, that's the basic part of this. Now we can adjust this a little bit so it matches a little bit better if you want to. There's a lot of little techniques. And then we can try to soften up that edge in there just a bit. And we can do that by working with our image up here, working with the mask, or the layer mask. Now again, that's right against that wall edge, so if I soften up that edge, it's going to then show me, show through some of that wall. So let's go to our white, which is the show on this, white show, black hide. Let's bring the size up a little bit, hardness at 0, and I'm just going to kind of paint just along that edge a little bit there. So all I'm doing here is I am expanding the mask out a little bit with a soft edge brush. That just softens up that edge of that line, making it a little softer, so it's not quite as apparent. I can do that right down here as well. And now at that side, I can come in and I can, because I have the same plant in behind, I can come in and just kind of blend in that plant a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Let's now zoom out, see how we're doing. Yeah, it's already 100% better, as you can see. Now I probably want to soften that up just a little bit, maybe, and maybe try to lighten it up just a touch because it looks better or matches a little better over here. But even so, you can see how much better that is. If I hide that, I'll actually just do that. There it is before, big huge white thing behind, and here it is with that removed. All of a sudden you begin ignoring that and just paying attention to the figures in front here. Is what we want to have happening. So let's just see if we can improve that look just a bit. Anything at this point and beyond is just going to be tweaks on this, just little tweak things happening. Now since we copied the image directly here over to here, the quality of the rock is exactly the same. The only difference is that it's a little bit darker here than it was over here, so we want to do a little bit of an adjustment on that. So edit adjustments. So I'll do it right on that layers, grab our levels on this. And let's see if that's going to give me anything on that. Actually, I think I'm on the wrong. Oh, I'm on the mask. That's why. There we go. From the actual image. Adjustments and levels. On the right side over here, these are the whites, these are the darks. If you pull this down, it's going to lighten up your image. If you pull this up, it's going to darken down your darks. I just want to lighten things up a little bit. I can actually just grab the midtones here and try to blend the midtones up just a touch. You can see it right there. So we can go back and forth on that. What I'm looking to do is to blend the values in here a little closer to the rocks that are around the outside edge. So I'm going to lighten it up just a bit. I think about in there is pretty good to my eye anyway. And by bringing it closer to the values in here, it hides it better from your eye because you're not paying attention to that. You're not looking at that edge that's happening in there. You're just seeing just more rock wall in behind. So a little bit of a level adjustment. Choose OK. And there we go. What I think is a massive improvement on that picture by cleaning up that big background problem. Again, it's a straightforward process. It just takes a little bit of care to do it properly. So there it is before. Real annoying. Here's without. All of a sudden you just ignore that and you're paying attention to the couple in the foreground. So just keep that in the back of your head, that even if you have a real problem on your picture, you can, by doing a little bit of creative editing, you can improve that picture by hiding it, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't matter what it is. Almost anything can be hidden in a picture if you approach it properly. But there we go. There is improving the background using the clone stamp tool, and a little bit of layer masking in here, and then a bit of refined edge to get that hair and the edge of that bush to blend in properly. Now at this point, if you wanted to take this even further and really improve this picture, what I would do would be to then go in and do the softening of the background, the focus technique, which we looked at in a different video, doing a soft focus technique where you leave the couple sharply in focus and keep it focused down here, and then go softer and softer focus up towards the back up here for a soft focus in there. That soft focus is going to make the couple pop out even more and do even a better job of hiding our repair work back in the background. So that was the next thing I would do on this, is just do a soft focus technique, and at that point you'd have pretty much a perfect picture. Let's now see if we can improve this even further. There's still one little issue with the background here. Not really an issue, but it's something which is be kind of nice to have in there, and that's that we have a bit of depth in here because of that open space. So we have our background blocked off because we want to get rid of course, this big white thing and that white thing there. Let's see if we can do something in here to bring some of that back in again to improve the look. I'm going to make a copy of this layer. Just pull it down to the new layer button. There we go. Make a copy. We'll hide that one. And let's take a look at this. Now if I come down to this background layer here, we have that white pretty much stops at this pole. So I'll be pulling in a guideline up to that pole. right there. Everything to the left of that we want to hide. To the right it's okay, except for this little bit right down here. So let's see if we can modify our mask in here to show what's on the right hand side, and of course hide what's on the left hand side. Now we're looking at this copy up here again, and we're pasting in here. So what I want to do is I want to hide some of this stuff that we've done here, some of this rock that we've done, to allow the background to show through. So black is hide and white is show. Easy to do. Let's just reset our colors, grab the elliptical rectangular marquee, and I'll just pull it right down like that. And that gives me a space to work into right up in here. I now can come in with the paintbrush and let's adjust the brush size. That looks pretty good. And then painting into the mask, as you can see here, I am re-exposing that side of the background. Okay, let's just deselect that. So now I can see through that archway a little bit over here, giving us a little more interest in there. This is still blocking out the really bad area, and this is showing through, giving us a little more visibility. Now the last thing we want to do is to do something about that white section right down in there. And I'll just do that on my background copy. We just want to make a selection around here and then darken that area down a little bit to hide that bit of white. So let's zoom in. There we go. And go to our background copy layer. Grab our polygonal lasso tool. And I'll make it just a kind of a quick mask around this. You may have the same problem here with the hair, so I'll have to take care of that, of course. But that's easy to do, as we've seen. And let's just kind of figure out about where that veil should be. And I'll come down somewhere down here, maybe where that bit of green is. And let's just go right over the edge. Come right back to the top up here. And finish that off. So here's our new selection. Let's now adjust the hair in here. So select, refine edge. And again, when you use the paintbrush, you have that little plus sign where what you want to keep, and then overlap the circle into what you want to mask out. So just kind of click just outside like this. And that will clean up that edge. Alright, that's looking real nice. Just a little bit along here to help grab that edge of the wall a little bit better. That's good. I'll choose OK. So there's our nice selection on this. Now with this, because I like to have things separate so I can go back to my original whenever I want to, I'm going to make a new layer based on this. So let's just do layer, new layer via copy. There's the new layer. And then I can work around and play with this without damaging anything else. So let's just see if we can just darken this down a little bit. Sometimes if you have a copy layer like this, you can just blend this with the background. And that's using the blending mode and multiply. There we go. It just kind of darkens that down by doubling that up. Now we still have the problem in here, of course, of this bright area right down there. So we need to darken that down somehow. I'm going to grab the magic wand and I'll click outside. That gives me the selection outside. Let's just then invert that. So select invert, and that brings our selection back in again. Now that we have that, we can come in and try to darken this area down. And I'll do that with the burn tool. This is a real large brush. That's fine. Let's just come in here. I'm just going to tap a little bit in here, see if that does anything for us. And it's actually not doing anything. So So that's not going to work for us. That's too bad. That would have been an easy way to handle that. Let's try putting in a little bit of a gradient in that case. So these back to our default colors. And let's go to our gradient tool right there. I'll set this black to clear. And let's just try bringing in just a little bit of a gradient in here. It's too dark down there, but the idea is working. So I'm going to step backwards a little bit here and zoom out so we can do a bigger gradient on that. So zoom out. And I'll start my gradient way down here someplace. And I'll just pull that up. There we go. That's all we needed in there. Okay, let's now fit this back on screen and deselect. And there we go. So it's a little further advance on that one. Let's just hide those extras. So we're showing some of the background again through here, and that helps. I think it's a little bit nicer. Now, I still am not really happy with that bit in here. Maybe we can do a little better job on that. Let's see if we can possibly maybe just put in some leaves in here or something just to get rid of that. But we're getting a lot closer, as you can see. So this time I'm going to just grab some of our leafy pattern and put it right into that section. We need to have our selection back again. Click outside, that selects all the outside area, and then invert that. Gives our interior selection again. Now you can copy, if you're using the clone stamp tool, you can copy from one layer and paste onto a different layer. So I'll copy down here, do edit copy like that, come onto this layer, and see there's our bush. Just a little bit of that in behind. Now it doesn't really match, as you can see, so I want to blur that out a little bit. The background is blurrier than that, so let's just come up here and right there we have the blur tool. Set that for a fairly good size brush. There we go. And I'll just click in here just a little bit to try to just blur that out so that it matches the focus of the background. And that looks pretty good. Okay, we'll zoom out again and deselect. And I think that solves that final problem. So let's go ahead, fit this on screen, and there we are. So a combination of several techniques, as you can see here, helped us repair and improve that background. First by coming in and filling off the hole completely. That's one option. And if you still want to have a little bit of that showing, of course, we did a secondary option here, which was to open that up again and then do a little bit of work in here to repair or hide that white highlight, again showing the back side here of this bride's veil. So there we go. Some final little touches, and I think we have now finally fixed this image. Now, of course, you could take it a little bit further still. Notice how it's lighter up here than it is in there. I could try to lighten this up a little bit like we have there if you want to. You can get picky on this and try to really blend everything in exactly. It's up to you if you want to do those kind of things. I want to take it that far. But you can see that even with what is basically a very, very bad problem as we have here, with a little bit of work using some blending modes, using some clone stamp tools and so forth, you can come in and do a very nice job of cleaning and fixing those things up. Which I think before we go, I think I will actually lighten that up just a little bit. It looks a little bit rich as I'm looking at that a little more here. Let's just go to brightness contrast, and I'll bring that brightness up just a little bit, bring the contrast down. There we go. Just a little closer match to that area up there. And there it is. That's how to fix a problem background. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this training video.